Welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Tom Basili in for Bob Sellers, along with Heather Childers. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is under fire for an insensitive tweet posted after an Uber Eats driver was carjacked and brutally murdered. Instead of posting her sympathies, the since-deleted tweet mentions how to prevent yourself from being carjacked in her city, saying this, quote, "Auto theft is a crime of opportunity. Follow these steps to reduce the risk of your vehicle becoming a target." Remember the motto, hashtag protect your auto. As major Democrat-run cities defund their police and stop prosecuting crime, are they becoming disconnected from the people that they serve? Let's bring in our panel to discuss. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get agreement from you guys on this, and I'm going to start with you, Amy. I think that this was actually a moment of honesty from Muriel Bowser. I think that this is another left-wing mayor who's just throwing up her hands and saying there's nothing really that we can do about this crime, about the lawlessness in our cities. What are your thoughts on this?
Sure, which is really sad because in 1 year alone from 2019 up to 2020, they saw upwards of 143% in carjackings alone. From the beginning of this year up until March 23rd, they've had 95 already reported. This is out of control. She needs to get control of this situation and work with her local police force. I know that she has called for more funding, which that's one good thing that, finally a liberal leader has done correctly. But, she has actually done more for show, short-term, good feelings type of situations, such as painting in giant letters with yellow paint on the streets, Black Lives Matter, as opposed to actually wanting to do something and as opposed to just displaying something. That's what a lot of Democrats do. They do something short term for a good feel moment, but they have no long term effects.
Yeah, we were working under the assumption that everyone at home would know what we're talking about. But just to describe for people that don't know this story, what happened in the video that you were watching there, these were two young girls. I think that they were, 13 and 15 years old. They attacked this Uber driver with a taser, which, by the way, I think is also illegal in Washington, D.C. to carry around. Another example of people not following the law. And they tased him. Then you could see what happened after that. He didn't want to give up his car. They were trying to get it. And then it ended up in this crash. And they murdered him. So, Ford, what do you think about the discrepancies in how this was covered with the media? Because I was actually correcting myself as I was talking there, because it was murder. We had some media outlets using the word accident, and he died. That's not what happened. They attacked him with a taser, and he was murdered.
Well, he was murdered. He was a 66-year-old Pakistani man. Here's the deal. Here's why we have this discrepancy in response. Because this murder, two young African-American women killing a Pakistani guy, does not fit the narrative of woke critical race theory. This is not white supremacy. This is a crime, sadly, where someone lost their life, and Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., is a lightweight and should resign. Now, if this happened to be two young white kids and a black man, I promise you this will be the top story in national news right now.
Yeah, you mentioned things that the left tends to ignore. I think that the current estimate of black homicides in the country for 2020 is around 8,000 people. But we never hear talk about that from Democrats or from President Biden. I want to move on to a topic that is related, and it goes to the fact that these cities that are run by leftists are seeing spikes in crime. New York City. Last week, the city council has voted to end qualified immunity for police officers and place new restrictions on cops. George, shouldn't this be an alarm bell going off for Americans all across the country? If New York City does this, could cities all across the country now be doing it? And we know that the end result is going to be more violent crime.
Well, I think this whole narrative that we're going on right now, which is basically discussing the left cities' anti-police rhetoric and defunding initiatives, it's just really sad overall. And I don't know what was in that mayor's mind when she issued that ridiculous tweet or whatever it was. I would like to give her the benefit of the doubt that she was just numb and foolish in what she did. But the reality is, and this is my problem with the public sector, whether it's the federal government or the state government or the local government, if you're on the public dole and you're going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what, whether you're talking about the police or whether you're talking about tens of millions of Americans out of work during the pandemic who are worried about being able to pay the utility bill, if you're part of the public sector, you're kind of numb to it because it doesn't affect you personally at all. You get your paycheck whether you're going in the office or not, and you can be kind of aloof from all these issues. But the defunding the police movement, over the weekend I watched an old great movie called Heat, where Al Pacino is this great police hero. And the movies and the Hollywood image of the police officer as your hero and your protector and someone who's heroic and is courageous and is going to take care of you, that's long gone. And that's a big loss for society, because in villainizing the police, we're going to increase the crime rate, we're going to increase murder, we're going to increase rape, we're going to increase battery and all sorts of violent acts. And we're going to pay a price for that. And it's very sad. It really is.
And of course, the statistics also show that when crime goes up, it's communities of color that pay the heaviest
Suffering
price.
worst. For sure.
Okay, thanks, panel. Stand by. We're going to bring you back shortly. Coming up, inside the Biden administration's quest to create so-called vaccine passports to prove you've gotten the shot. Will you need one? And what will this mean for you if you don't want the vaccine, or more importantly, you don't want to be traced by authorities? That and more next on American Agenda.